Hey everybody, what's going on? Bahroo here, back with some more Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and today I have my Rustler's Infinity build guide for Handsome Jack at level 70. A lot of people have been asking for level 70 guides, so here's the one that I use for Handsome Jack. As you've probably seen from previous videos, this thing murders basically everything, so be prepared to just jump into a fight and murderize everything and pretty much stay up the entire time. So let's go ahead and jump into the gear first. And first, before actually I do that, I want to apologize for a little bit of delay on some YouTube content. I've been messing around with some other things here recently, and things have been just a little busy, so regular content is going to be resuming from here on out, so sorry about that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this build. So first off, you're going to want a Rustler's Quad. This is a Jacob shotgun. Now specifically, you're going to want the glitch version with O4L4, which means overload and loop up to a 4 chance. You want those. Do you need them? No. It's mostly overkill unless you're fighting a boss. But hey, no kill like overkill, right? So we're pretty much going to be using those two things for a glitch quad. Now for the parts that you're going to want, as these are very important, the grip, as you can see right here, I'm kind of outlining it. This is a Jacob's grip. This will give you increased reload speed and higher magazine size. You want that. You can go with a Tor grip. That'll give you a little bit more fire rate, but overall, you want a Jacob's. Next, you're going to want a Rustler's prefix, which means you're going to want this little thing sticking out of the bottom of it, which is a vertical grip. This adds to the pellet count. Then finally, you're going to want the Torque barrel, which means that you will have 4 barrels. Jacob's is 2 barrels, Hyperion and TDR is 1 barrel, Bandit is 3 barrels. Sight, completely irrelevant, doesn't matter. Stock, since this is a Jacob's, also mildly irrelevant. However, if you're going to go for something, go for Hyperion. But sight and stock, don't worry about it. It's not that important. All that matters is the grip, the barrel, and the prefix. And obviously for glitch, you're going to want O4L4. So now for the other guns that we're going to be using, doesn't really matter. I use blasters because why the hell not? But you're going to want a Malawan laser or a Malawan weapon of a fire, shock, and ice element. The reason for this is because we will be merging their elements into our Rustler's Quad depending on what we're fighting. And no, this is not a glitch. This is just how Handsome Jack works, and we'll explain that in just a little bit. Now for the other gear, you're going to want to make sure you have a CEO of all CEOs class mod. Very important that you have absolute advantage at +6. This is what makes the class mod work. It is very important that you have this. The secondary skill is nice, but what you need to worry about is that absolute advantage, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Next, we're going to have an Eddy for our Oz kit. The reason that we have an Eddy for the Oz kit is because it's going to give us a little bit more shield capacity, making our sham stronger. In addition, it will restore our shield and give us health vials. We are not going to be using the laser damage or anything like that. Also, it gives you a little bit more air control, so I mean, that's kind of cool too, but not really necessary. And then finally for our grenade, we're going to have a data scrubber. The reason we have this is because if we throw it at an enemy, it will give us a shield booster that will regenerate our sham. This build mostly relies on keeping your sham up the entire time, even though the recharge delay, we're not really going to worry about that. We're just going to recharge our shield by killing things and using data scrubbers. So that is the gear. Overall, gear outside of the sham, all the gear is very easy to get. The data scrubber is a quest reward in the Claptrap DLC. CEO of CEOs is just a regular old class mod that you can find pretty much everywhere. The Eddy comes from Claplek, who recently has been made always respawnable, so you don't have to worry too much about that. He's got a pretty high drop rate. Also, he appears a lot in the vendor. These lasers, it can be literally any Malawan weapon. I'm just using lasers, but any Malawan weapon with those elements. Don't need to worry about them. The actual quad itself will probably be the hardest item to find because you need a very specific barrel, so you're going to be using that grinder quite a bit, or potentially farming the bosses inside of the Claptrap DLC, as they're all guaranteed to drop a glitch weapon. And then finally the sham. Good luck. Just good luck. It's like world drop. Or you can get it from the grinder, I think, maybe. Just don't think about that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the actual spec. We're going to be using a little bit of the hero from the story, mostly into the greater good, and a little bit of free enterprise. So let's go ahead and talk about the free enterprise skill tree first. We're going to go into incentives and high frequency trading. This is going to give us more swap speed, and when we do swap, that is going to give us a little bit more fire rate. The fire rate, mostly irrelevant though. But the reason we have that is so that way we can, when we want to swap elements, we can do this very quickly. So, yeah. That is why we have that. Next, we have money is power. Nice little skill. I'm not really going to worry too much about it. I mean, there's no reason to really use money is power for most things, but we have to put a point somewhere to progress down to the next tier. Most things will die without this, even on UVHM with this build. Next, we've got Merger. Merger is a very nice long-range laser killer for whenever you need to be able to do, you know, fight something at a mildly decent range that your quad can't handle. However, that is going to be very few and far between. It's got about a 20-second recharge, and this thing has been able to kill badasses on UVHM. So its power is definitely very, very strong. We're not going to put any points into Company Man because we only have one Hyperion item on here, and that's our class mod. Taxation of trade routes. This is going to up your damage of your quad, and yes, upping your damage of your quad is important because you will break. The way fire rate works is that it works in breakpoints, so you're going to want to get that 13 to a 15. So before you actually start, just make sure that you empty out all of your weapons, and you know, you can kind of see how the fire rates starts to go up there. And then once it's all done, now your quad's going to fire a little bit faster. And it does also affect the loop. So that's why you want to have that skill, and also why we want loop. And then finally, the major one, absolute advantage, kill skill. Whenever you kill an enemy, there's an 88% chance that I won't consume ammo. Yeah, just think about that for a second. It's a 12% chance that I actually shoot my gun and it uses ammo. And I'm going to be using a shotgun that I can spam. Yeah, I'm sure you can see where this build is going already. And then finally, sponsored by. Now, specifically, we're going to be using the element for Malawan, which transfers 25 of damage as elemental, meaning that if I transfer shock into my quad, it'll do 25% more damage as shock. If I transfer fire into my thing, it'll do as fire damage. And as far as transferring it, it's very simple. You just start on whatever you want. So I'm going to have my shock, and then I switch to my quad, and now my quad will do shock damage. And we'll go ahead and head over here to the test dummy so you can kind of see this in effect. And this will work for any element that you want to use. So let's go ahead and shoot our buddy here. So you can see a little bit of extra elemental damage there is happening. Oh. Well, that was about 1 million damage. That's nice. But you can see that extra elemental damage. That's what's going to happen. So anyway, that is mostly the free enterprise tree and everything that it consists of. Let's go ahead and quickly do the hero of the story because, well, that's going to, yeah. Anyway, the hero of the story is going to be best foot forward. That's going to increase the duration of our digijacks. Take their freedom whenever you get a kill. It'll increase your maximum health. And then finally we have the greater good. You're going to take mostly everything in this tree. But let's explain why. Collaborate. Whenever your digijack dies, you get more damage. Teamwork. Whenever they die, you get health regen. Diversity, because we're going to give them a little bit of extra damage. Integrity. Whenever you're fighting a large enemy, because frankly, most things are going to die in one hit, you'll get an additional 40% extra damage when you're hurting them, whenever they are under 40% health. This is nice for fighting bosses like Eclipse and EOS, or Raid Sentinel, or things like that. Next we have Synergy. Kill skill. Increase your weapon damage by 60% and increase your critical damage by 60%. Really nice thing to have there. Next we have Commitment. This is just because there's a point left over and you gotta throw it somewhere. So we're gonna throw a point in Commitment. Whenever a jack dies, reload speed goes up. Fire rate, mostly irrelevant. Winning. Whenever we kill an enemy, we will restore 25% of our maximum capacity, which is why we have an eddy, and because we have a sham, we only need to have 1 point in that for it to actually work. Also, the movement speed is nice. Next we have believe. Weapon damage, fire rate, reload speed, and accuracy all go up whenever you get a kill skill. Potential. Your Digijack will set off a shock nova. This is not really that important. The reason I picked this up is so that I can use my action skill while I'm in fight for my life. And then finally we have leadership, which means that whenever a Jack dies, it will proc any kill skill that I have, which means it'll activate collaborate, it'll activate teamwork, synergy, commitment, winning, and believe. It'll proc all of those whenever a Jack dies, and they're all on a timer. And this is why I don't spec into you have my shield. I want my Jacks to die as often as possible. I would have put a point into optimism, but it doesn't really lower their health by that much. So let's go ahead and quickly show off why this build works. And we're going to start right over here at the beginning. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to stack up our collaborate. So you can see our Jacks kind of spawning in there. And you can see the Nova is also fairly large. It's not going to do very much though. Anyway, here we go. So that just killed basically every enemy in the game. That wasn't that wasn't Eclipse. I was going to say the raid boss. Jack, your ass is in my way. And there we go. That is why this build is so powerful. Now I'm going to go ahead and swap over to some gameplay. That pretty much is the build. There will be a link in the description if you wish to download the build, if that is your thing. Otherwise, this is what I use for Handsome Jack, and honestly, this is what I consider the most effective way to play as Jack. You pretty much don't have to worry about anything, and you murder everything. Anyway, if you enjoyed this build and you enjoyed these guides, be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for future videos. I'll be putting out a build guide, let's say at 2 p.m. Actually, I don't know when this one's going to end up going live, but we'll say 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day until I have all of the characters. Next one will be Athena. Athena. You know what? We're going with Athena next. Last time I made an immortal Athena. Now I want to make a bloodthirsty Athena. Not a melee. Now we'll make something. But next guy will be Athena. Anyway, we're going to switch over to some gameplay. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy it, be sure to hit the like button and all that good stuff. And I'll catch you all in the next one, everybody. Later.
It's my will that makes this world go round. Missiles locked! Targeting routine!
Multiply the breeze. Double break in trouble. Let's go. Come on! I win! Leadership! Body double program, what's so crazy? Muh Jack, son, don't screw with Jack! Double friggin' trouble! Leadership!
You trying to be a hero? You're not a hero. I know what you've done. I've seen it all firsthand through this
That
class.
kill was sponsored by Hype. Oh, I just came into some money! If only crap I had money like this. Money is power! Jack here! Welcome to the money zone! Go through with Jack!